Announcement season is going strong, and we've got a lot more information about Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood. Let's break it all down. Hello and welcome back to the Haunt Line, the show dedicated to SoCal haunts and events. And man, we've got a lot to cover today. HHN has been giving us so much information. We've got a pretty good picture of how the event is going to play out this year. And in fact, last week they announced 2 more mazes, and the week before that they announced another 2 mazes. So we've got a lot to cover. Let's get right into it. The first of 2 big announcements from last week was that The Exorcist is making a comeback to the event for 2021. So it looks like all the rumors were true, and I'm honestly kind of bummed. Rest in peace, Beetlejuice. The last time we saw Exorcist at Horror Nights was in 2016, and this new maze is going into a new location. In 2016, it was located in the Mummy Queue, but now it's going in Sound Stage 29, which definitely leads me to believe that had everything gone according to plan this year, we would have gotten Beetlejuice in a sound stage, which would have been pretty damn perfect. Now it appears that not much is actually going to change from the maze itself. It is going to have to be retrofitted for its new location, because the Mummy Queue area and Soundstage 29 are definitely very different shapes in terms of their square footage. So although it would be nice to get, some additions or changes to the maze, I wouldn't hold my breath for that. It doesn't seem like that's the priority here. However, I am kind of excited. Back in 2016, I wasn't really doing this. I wasn't going through and taking photos or video of the mazes. So I'm kind of excited to get another chance to do that with The Exorcist, and also to do it in a sound stage, which is definitely a much more controlled environment. So that's the plus side there. But the downside is that we're not getting Beetlejuice, and that honestly totally bums me out. I'm not expecting it, but I hope that they do it in 2022, because Beetlejuice was a maze that I've been wanting for a while, and now that we're not really getting it on the West Coast, I'm bummed out. And it's also interesting to note that apparently the decision to bring The Exorcist back had nothing to do with John Murdy. In fact, according to him on Twitter, he was still on furlough when they made the decision to bring The Exorcist back. Now, what's interesting is I just saw a headline today saying that Universal and Peacock just spent, I think, somewhere around $400 million to buy the rights to The Exorcist, and they're planning on making some new movies. So now I'm kind of connecting some dots here, and I'm like, maybe that's why they chose The Exorcist to come back, aside from it just being a property that they've already used and maze plans that they already have. So yeah, interesting that Peacock and Universal kind of now own the rights to The Exorcist and are going to produce some new movies with that franchise. So maybe we'll see The Exorcist back again. I wouldn't be surprised if it made a return in future events. Next, it is now officially confirmed that Pandora's Box is making a return, and it's actually not a sequel. It seems to be the exact maze from 2019, which again, kind of makes perfect sense given the fact that 2020 was a wild year for Universal and for theme parks and entertainment in general. A lot of money was lost. And for a while now, I've been saying that I wouldn't be surprised if mazes made a comeback, and Pandora's Box is one that is very easy to redo. So I'm not surprised by this one bit. And again, I wouldn't expect too many changes on this one either. It's moving location. I don't know how much that kind of affects the layout. It seems like it might be the same square footage, the same footprint as 2019. I hope they throw in a few surprises, especially because in Pandora's Box, it's pretty easy to do. They can just raid the prop warehouse and spray paint some stuff neon colors, and that's all you got to do. But again, I wouldn't really hold my breath or cross my fingers for some big changes. I think it's mostly just going to be a repeat of 2019, which at the end of the day, for me, it wasn't a terrible maze. Would I wait 40 minutes for it? No. but I would go through it, and it takes me back to the old days of Haunt when things were a little simpler, things weren't super involved in terms of scenic design, and it's a very simple equation, right? The neon paint plus the scare actors, boom, you have a maze. So I'm excited to go through it again. And again, last year I didn't get in 2019, I keep doing that. In 2019, I didn't get like any footage of Pandora's box. So I'm excited to do it again this year. Now, in addition to announcing the 2 mazes, Horror Nights Hollywood actually also released tickets for the event. So tickets are now on sale. And man, if you tried buying tickets when they released them, you're right there with me. It was a wild ride. Apparently that day there was a DNS outage. A lot of major websites lost their ability to be active, and it appears that the Horror Nights website, both in Orlando and here in Hollywood, fell victim to that as well. So yeah, it was very interesting trying to score tickets for Horror Nights. It was loading really slow. It just really wasn't working. However, I tried at night, and I was finally able to get my tickets for opening night. Tickets for opening night are still super available. The only thing that has sold out are the unlimited express tickets, which if you have the money to splurge on unlimited express, I think it's a pretty solid deal because you get to go through the lines time and time again all night, which is actually pretty awesome. And speaking of which, if you're only visiting Horror Nights once this season, I highly recommend that you just go ahead and buy the Express Pass ticket. It includes admission to the event itself, and it gives you Express for the entire night, and I believe for the rides as well. So it's definitely worth the price if you're only going once this season. This is a one-time use Express ticket, so you can only go through all the mazes or all the rides once. However, it sure beats waiting 2 hours for one maze and then only having a couple hours left of the event to enjoy. So if you're only doing one night this season, buy the Express Pass, especially if you're going on a Friday or on a Saturday. And if you're visiting from out of town, get the 2 p.m. day and night combo ticket. That's actually a fantastic deal too, especially if you get Express. So basically what it means is that you're able to enter Universal Studios Hollywood during the day after 2 p.m. and you can stay all the way through the night for Horror Nights, which means that if you're visiting out of town and you kind of want to experience the park during the day, you can do things like the Wizarding World, which is never open for Horror Nights. You can also do Secret Life of Pets, and you can also ride the studio tour, all with Express Pass during the day. Again, this ticket includes Express and admission to both Universal Studios Hollywood and Horror Nights. So you do Wizarding World, you do the studio tour, you do Secret Life of Pets, which is a super cute ride, and then you stay for the evening, and then you get to do the rides that are opening at night, and you can also go through all the mazes with Express. So if you're visiting from out of town, the 2 p.m. day or night combo, do it. It's worth it. And unfortunately, we are still waiting on frequent fear passes, both here in Hollywood and in Orlando. We're kind of speculating here that they may come out this week. I guess some of the DNS server things kind of screwed up whatever announcement Orlando had planned. So maybe we'll get them this week. So just get your wallets ready. Or not. This is going to be quite the financial onslaught here, but totally worth it to get a frequent fear pass, especially if you're a local. It really pays for itself after you go back 2-3 times, and you get to not really worry or stress about getting through the lines as much because you can always come back another day. And now let's just quickly recap what we got 2 weeks ago. We got 2 announcements. The first one was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, this version of the maze is going to be based on the 1974 film, and it's going to be the first time that we revisit that property since 2012. Now, the bright side for me personally is that I actually didn't go to the event in 2012. I started going consecutively in 2013, so I missed out on that version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it appears to be borrowing a lot from the design of that maze specifically. We know that we're going to see the Sawyer house, and we're also going to see the gas station, which are kind of iconic scenes in the movie. But outside of that, overall, meh. Again, Leatherface is one of those, it's a very predictable property. It's going to be the gore house of the season. You're going to see Leatherface. You're going to see, a bunch of chainsaws, and it's the same thing almost every time. So I'm ready for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to not make an appearance for a long time. However, I don't think that's going to happen. But hey, it's a maze and it's going to be there, so great. And lastly, they announced the Bride of Frankenstein Lives, which to my surprise is actually the title for the maze here in Hollywood. From the time that they started kind of having this in the rumor mill that we would get the Bride of Frankenstein Lives, I thought, no way, that just doesn't happen. Horror Nights in Hollywood has its own Universal Monster canon. Orlando has their own Universal Monster canon. So I didn't think that we'd actually see kind of like a bi-coastal opening of a maze, but I guess it's happening. We're actually getting the Bride of Frankenstein Lives. However, it's not exactly the one that we're getting in Orlando. Hollywood's version is going to kind of be its own story. I guess Murdy really liked the idea of having this maze here on the West Coast. So he's kind of putting his own spin on it, which again makes kind of perfect sense because like I said, Universal here in Hollywood has kind of had their own canon, their own story for the Universal Monsters. So I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to do with this property. The facade is up. It's gorgeous. If you're in the park, you can see it. It in fact was the book facade that we were speculating on. It's now finished, and you can actually see little glimpses at the mural that was painted on the book. It is gorgeous. It's got like Frankenstein's castle coming down in an explosion. You see Frankenstein. You see the Bride of Frankenstein. So yeah, I'm super stoked to see what they're going to do with this property. Again, Universal Monsters are always welcome at the event for me. And Murdy, I'm still waiting on that Creature from the Black Lagoon maze, man. Oh, and also Slash will be making a comeback to score the music for this maze. So that's pretty exciting too. He's kind of been doing that for every Universal Monster maze in Hollywood. So pretty stoked to see what they're going to do with that. And one final bit of news, HN Nightmares has released another speculation map. And on this one, we're seeing that Halloween 3 has gone from Halloween 3 to Halloween Kills and now to Halloween 4. Another repeat maze for this year's lineup. And the evidence is actually there. In fact, the facade that was at the Waterworld Q used to look like a pretty close replica of the Silver Shamrock Novelties factory, down to the shape of the warehouse and of course the shamrock itself on the wall. However, now it is completely white. They've changed the color of it to look like the I guess it's a repair shop, a mechanic shop from Halloween 4. We saw it in 2018, and now it seems to be an exact replica of that, down to the signage. So we've officially lost Halloween 3, which is a huge bummer because I was actually really stoked to see what they can do with that property, especially after having watched the movie for the very first time not too long ago. So it's a bummer. We're getting a lot of repeats this year, but unfortunately, again, it makes sense. They've lost a lot of money in 2020. I'm talking billions of dollars. And it's, you know, they're in recovery mode right now. So this year we're getting a lot of repeat mazes. But hey, 2022, there's no excuses. You better not repeat any mazes, all right? And well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Haunt Line. Be sure and subscribe and comment down below what you think about the new lineup. I know a lot of people are upset, so I know that might be coming. But hey, again, I see why they're doing what they're doing. But hopefully, even though some of you may be a little disappointed by the lineup, we'll still have a great time at Horror Nights. And also, we're still waiting to hear from 2 more mazes and possibly the Terror Tram. According to HN Nightmares, we're going to get those this year, but we'll see. And also, if you're curious to hear more of my thoughts on the situation here in Hollywood, I'm actually doing a couple of episodes with the boys at HHN 365, an awesome Horror Nights podcast. They mostly focus on Orlando, but of course they do talk about Hollywood, which is why I'm on there. So be sure and check out the latest episode that I'm on. I'll leave a link to it in the bio, and just check out their podcast. They're really awesome guys, and they have a fantastic show. Keep up with all the latest haunt news by following us on Instagram and Twitter. You can also visit us on the web for links to all of our stuff. And you can download our podcast, which is going to have brand new episodes soon. I'm going to be covering some stuff that I haven't covered on the show yet. And, you know, we got some surprises in store for you. But until then, thank you for calling The Haunt Line.